All right, so here I am on this Super 55, and this is in between where the engine goes and the transmission. A lot of times they do a Z split. Well, I have the whole dash hanging there, and then the other top of the transmission's over there. I just have the top off, but normally the top half would be with the engine and the rear half would be here, and they call that the Z split. So before I put the overhauled motor back in this is a very common place for seals to leak. Have the PTO drive gear, or the PTO drive kind of hub, and then this is the actual PTO shaft. The hub and the clutches will go here for your PTO, adjustable through this opening. And then this is the PTO pinion shaft. I have the shaft pulled out. So we have some seals. So on the pinion drive, or the PTO drive hub seal, there's a seal that slides over the splines here and goes inside that housing. So replace that seal. Then on the actual cast housing that goes over that, there is an O-ring, and then there's actually an O-ring down here after the splines, so that is new. And then we have a new seal here, and that goes and rubs around here, which holds your PTO clutches, which I cleaned all these surfaces up on the lathe. And then the pinion shaft, there is also an O-ring on that hub or plate and a seal, and then I clean that up on the lathe. So I try to clean everything up. I already got this seal in, so now I'm going to get this put in. Put a little bit of lube. Always lubricate the O-rings, and it never hurts to do the lip seal. And keep in mind, excuse me, of not trying to cut the seal or any O-rings when you put these things on. Probably put okay. A lot of this was really greasy in here. You can definitely over grease it, but at least it's greased. Actually, I had a hard time finding this seal because I ordered like 2 or 3 seals from the dealer, the same exact part number, the only one they show for that. It wasn't right. So I went off of specs and was able to match one up, because clearly it takes one. There's an early and a late too. That could have something to do with it. But, I mean, this is... We went off the serial number. So they don't appear to show, I think it's the... I don't know if it's the later one is what they don't show. I don't remember now. Alrighty. Got those torqued. So let's see about putting the hub on that holds the clutches. A little bit more lube on there. And again, this has all been cleaned. You want to be careful. Line everything up. And then this goes through that seal that we changed on the back side. Just making sure it's all the way on. Let me get a light. So we got that on there. Then we have to put our nut which this is the nut that takes a special spanner socket. As soon as I get done holding my tongue right, of course this whole thing spins. Special tools make everything go a little easier. This can be made, this can be bought still, this particular one. I think it's Maple Springs. Maple Spring Farms, or I'm not sure which one it is, but. And then Mayball Tractor, and there's many places I think that you can still get this. But I got a box from an original dealership that has all the special tools that the book calls for in it. So that helps. Alright, so the spec is on this nut. It says in the book, let's go see. Of course, it gives you your special tool numbers, OTC, blah blah blah. Careful not to damage the seal. There it is. Tighten the nut to a minimum of 150 foot-pounds of torque and stake in 3 places to hold it in position. Then you can install the power takeoff clutch assembly, the power takeoff cross shaft, and the release fork. So that was the bearing retainer. I have on the other PTO pinion shaft to put on still, and then we already did the bearing retainer for the PTO drive. which was down there in the drive section. So we'll finish getting that put on, and then I'll show you one other seal that is kind of tricky. So let's get, see if I have enough battery life to get that going. I need to hold the gear so I can torque it. I need to hold this so I can torque it. I'm going to torque it to the right. So I wonder if I got room for a pry bar. It's not going to be the hardest thing to hold, but hard enough. That might work. Something like that. We'll see. It's going to be a pain in the butt. So this go here, and I need an extension, which I already have. Move you over here. Slipped off there. Not real thrilled about this method. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Cut it out. Let's redo this. Go electric, it's great. Said nobody ever. One more try. Well, it said a minimum of 150. So that was 150. We'll go 155 for fun. Okay. There. That was fun. I think I need new batteries in the torque wrench. Okay, so that is now torqued. And shouldn't have much play, and also want to make sure you spin it and you don't hear anything grinding or rubbing, because you have those bolts from the bearing retainer on the back side. So we're good. Spins. And this is your PTO shaft, which I have locked in place right now. So now I need to stake that real quick. Let me go get a punch. Or even a chisel, something. Weapon of choice. Wherever I can get this in it. 1, 2, 3, and what the heck, there's 4 notches, so let's go with 4 stakes. Going against the book. Gonna live on the wild side. All right. So there is 4 stakes in on the nut. Alrighty, so 2 new O-rings that seal the splines so you don't have oil coming out there. Got a seal here, got a seal on the hub. And I think my battery's beeping. Well, quick brain fart. It happens to all of us. Tell you what, it happens more now so that I've been in front of a camera trying to focus on making sure I show you guys every step I can. I forgot that when I put that PTO clutch housing in, that it is going to block the next bearing retainer from going on. So luckily I get a lot of practice when filming. And you guys can see that it doesn't always work out the first time. So gonna go ahead and lube up the O-ring on the back of the pinion, PTO pinion shaft. And then here is the other seal I was talking about. So here is the sealing surface. I just kind of cleaned those up in a lathe. Got a new lip seal in here, new O-ring on the bearing retainer. But inside here is a needle roller bearing. And then inside there is a seal in front of it. If you're going to change that seal, you need a new bearing every time. So keep in mind that is keeps fluid from coming out of the center of the tube. So a bunch of seals. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seals in there. Well, I mean, 3 of them are O-rings, but so then this will slide over. Careful not to damage that O-ring. And then it goes in, and it has to, this is that way you can, it'll actually make it easier. So when I was sitting there fighting that with the pry bar you guys saw, normally I was wondering why it was so hard. Normally the shaft's on here because you have to, and you can just hold the shaft with a pipe wrench. So like I said, if there's one thing that I have come to realize is with filming, you mess up a lot just because you're trying to film it. And I normally don't film any of this, but I do now for you guys, so hopefully I can explain that a little bit of why we messed up. And it happens. So, a lot of wiggling here. I'll get that back in. Then you can see how what I was fighting to tighten on the drive, I'll just put a pipe wrench right here, lightly. Oh, so that'll work. Like I said, anything worth doing is worth doing a bunch of times. I'll lube this up where that lip seal is going to go. And I already lubed up the O-ring. Oh, you know what? I need to tighten these studs down because we don't want them sticking out. Had to get me a drink of water. just snug enough. So, got a flat spot here. Make sure it gets over. So there is a flat spot underneath there where it meets the other one. So now I will put those on and torque them down. And in some cases you can change some of these out with bolts. And where is my other one? Oh yeah, you gotta be, don't want to get carried away here. These have your spring brackets. This holds your spring on each side. So you don't want to get too carried away to where, guess what? You take it apart again. So I can torque the top one. I like this light, it's failing me. Can't even get a light to keep up with me. Alright. Then after this, we'll go ahead and put that hub back on. Be a whole lot better to torque this time. And these tabs are up. Yeah, they go up about, they go up here. Kind of right there. Those will make sense later. I thought the video on the cock shut would be a little quick, so added this in there. Should be a pretty decent little video. Plus, I've had quite a few questions about adjusting these PTOs or what's leaking inside one. So, hoping this will clarify some of that. All right, so I'll go ahead and get that clutch hub put back on just the way you guys saw, but it's going to be a little easier. I'm just going to put a pipe wrench right here, which will stop that from spinning, so I can torque that down. And then I'll stake it again, and then I'll get you back for the PTO clutches. All right, so now that everything is torqued and peened, grab a light here. So anyway, now that everything is torqued and peened, we got our new seals in, showed you the O-rings. Now we'll put the clutches in here. So we got one. Hang on, I put that in too early. Got a little ahead of myself, as usual. Got to put the hub in there. So we got it all in there and peened. This slides over and there's a groove alignment here for a set screw. Right there. So on this one there's a set screw right here. And it looks like, see if I can show you. This little guy, it's got a nipple on the end of it. That'll go down in that. I'll probably put just a little bit of Loctite on it. Let me grab some. I sure like Loctite. Not going to use red because I could definitely be the next guy working on it. Round here, good chance. So just a little bit of blue. Alright, got that tight. And I think what they did was also hit that where it goes down in to try to stop, kind of stop it if it ever came back out, just to kind of help it. So that's nice and snug. So now we could put where I was at. One friction in. And then a steel. Friction. So this is again what gets adjusted from down below when you need to adjust your PTO if it's not snapping in and out right, which we're going to go over that. And that's accessed through the hole right here. I don't do these enough to just remember them right off the rip, but I always use a service manual for any doubts I may have. All right. So now I think they call this the spider. It's going to go on. Might have to move you out of the way, we'll see. Not yet. This is all cleaned up. Get our grease hose. Shot out this hole here to the right hand side. And then this still has your same, everything still aligns the same way. And the nut is in the middle here, and it floats. And we got a pin to depress. Hang on, I gotta get that back in the right groove. Spin this around where I can see what's going on here. Okay. I'll show you better once I get everything settled. What I'll do is put my pipe wrench on the PTO. Stop it from spinning. Alright, let's see if I can get it started here. It's not a big deal if the whole thing spins while you start the nut. It's just once it gets down to the keyway. Again, I know this isn't a good position for the camera, but I'm going to take it back apart and show you what's going on here. Okay. Whoops. So you got to get that nut just right inside the spider before it all goes together. There's three spots for that to happen. There, seemed to be better this time. There we go. See, everything got a lot easier to adjust. So the keyway is lined up. So yeah, around here inside that hub I put on was 3 keyways. This spider has to lock into that key, all 3 of them. Then we take this pin right there, and this is how you adjust the PTO. You would come from underneath here in this slot. This retainer would get pushed back. And see if I can do it here. This would get pushed back, and then you tighten or loosen the nut to adjust your PTO lever, whether it's squishing the clutches together or not. So, and then you let out on the pin, and she's locked in. Then Also, when you're doing an inspection on your PTO, you want to make sure all your roll pins are in. You check everything. Links. As far as I know, we can still get these parts new, and plenty of people out there to help us out with used parts. Then we have our throw out. So this would come in your PTO lever. It's going to lock the clutches in or throw them out because it's an over center clutch. So these links come in, lever gets thrown, pushes, and squishes, and then pops out. So that's what we're adjusting. So have to put the arm across here and get the throw out in place. Let me get that done. Okay, so now got everything back together. I showed you where the common leaks were. I had left this assembly off here for the main clutch throw out and the springs, because if you can see, if I tried to show you that spider, you're gonna have a hard time seeing it. And I'm like, you know what? I'll do double the work just so I can show you better, because otherwise we'd be working on it from underneath trying to see it, and it was better this way for you, the viewer, and it still was hard to get you in there, but all right, so we got the spider in there. We have our shaft that comes in from the PTO lever right here, goes up to this PTO lever. All right, and then it goes across here, up underneath here, above the brass throwout bearing, and then it just comes out this side, and your clutch pedal pivots on that. Then we just have some linkage here to adjust. Then this shaft goes in, and it holds your main clutch throwout fork, and goes to the other side, and it gets secured with a cotter pin and a washer. And then you get your grease hoses in. Top throwout bearing one goes here, so when you push, try to make sure it doesn't rub on the hose, the spring, or anything like that. I just put a little bit of lube on the collar, and then I will grease this bearing, just a couple pumps. It's brand new. And then torque your bolts, and then down underneath here is the grease hose for your spider and throwout. And like I said, you can't see that now. So what we have to do is, I took my pipe wrench off the PTO shaft so I can spin that around so we can get to the adjuster. So I'm going to set you right here and see if you can kind of see it. So I'll spin this, try to. Spin this around. There's the adjuster here off. Now it's on the bottom, because that's where you would adjust it. I'll get you a picture of that on the bottom here. So I got my creeper. Let's see if I can't put the light up in here. All right, so then you would move this window out of the way, this door, and then you spin it around until you see your adjuster. And again, that you have to depress, and you tighten this collar, this nut, one notch at a time, to where we get your desired lever throw on the PTO. So we need to adjust this and get an idea of it right now. We should be good to adjust it now. So I'll do that, and we'll go from there. Let's see if I can get you put in a better spot here. All right. Yeah, nowhere near, because we did just put it together. So what I'm going to do is tighten that collar some more, and I'll get you back. I'm not going to have you sit there and watch me tighten that. All right, so after depressing that pin and adjusting the nut, I think I got it to where we want. You want to hear it snap in. All right, I'll move the wrench off the back, but I can move it here. It is connected. So then you would snap it out and lock it in place. So over here, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Depress down, snap it in place. Then you want it to adjust to come back and lock in. So I adjusted that using the bolt, and then I put a new cotter pin here that stops the lever. So that ought to work. Like I said, you looking for that over center snap. If you ever adjusted one on a Super 66 or a 66 or any of those other fleet lines or supers that had these clutches, even the 1600 and many other models, it's basically the same concept, except it's up underneath here, where the other ones are conveniently located at the back of the tractor, like on the cockshut we finished servicing. That's how I turn the belt pulley on. So that same setup's pretty much inside here. You have all your linkage, and then you can hear it snap in. So very similar. They've changed the design a little bit, but